at the top of the page.
Should I skip the page?
You don't need to.
Okay.
Dividing fractions. Now, when we divide fractions, a word that you need to become very familiar with is reciprocal. Reciprocal, in easy terms, is just simply flipping a fraction. Okay? Now, for example, if you have the fraction 1/3, the reciprocal is simply 3/1.
So you're flipping, so like,
Just flip the fraction.
other times when you're not gonna have to.
And you're dividing fractions. Yeah.
Wouldn't it just be like 3?
Well. Okay. So now, when dividing fractions, the first thing that we need to do is we need to rewrite the division problem as a multiplication problem. When you do that, the first fraction stays the same. Next, change division sign to multiplication. And then you're going to write the reciprocal of the second fraction. Once you have done that, now we just have a multiplication problem, and so we follow the steps of multiplying fractions.
are we going to leave the facts improper?
No, we never do that. Okay? Now, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be dividing a whole number by a fraction and dividing a fraction by a whole number. Okay, so we're going to do, I'll show you two different examples, one of each thing that I want you guys to put in your notebook. Example 1. Five divided by 1/5. Now, the first thing that we need to do, since we are dividing a whole number by fractions, is we need to make that whole number into a fraction. So 5 would become what?
5,
5 over 1. So I want you to leave that the same. Leave that problem like that. Now directly below, right, 5 over 1. Now, says we need to rewrite the division problem as a multiplication. So the first fraction stays the same. The 5 over 1 stays the same. We change the division sign to multiplication. And now we're going to write the reciprocal of the second one, which is 5 over 1. Now we follow the rules for multiplying. So when we follow the rules for multiplying, what do we always try to do first? Nope. Camden?
See if there is any numerator and denominator the same.
We want to see if we can reduce the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay? So are there any numerator and denominator the same? No. Are there any that are both even? No. The denominators in this situation are both 1, so I know I can't reduce it. So I simply multiply it. Top times top gives me 25. Bottom times bottom gives me 1. And 25 over 1 is the same as 25.
Is that simple?
Yeah. Example 2. Is it time now?
It's not your time, but I was wondering if you had a projector that I could use.
An overhead? Like this?
No, like one to.
Mrs. Price should have one.
She said she doesn't.
No, she doesn't. Pretty sure she
The news cost you
She doesn't. She doesn't have
Should be one down in the
She
library.
doesn't have a
Yeah, there's one.
Oh, yeah.
Projector.
I can show her.
Where's the library?
Here,
Back
show
off
her.
the
I
stage.
can show her.
Okay.
Yeah, come back and I'll, if you can't find it, let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, example 2. Okay, in this situation we divided a whole number by a fraction. Example 2, we're going to divide a fraction by a whole number. Okay, so let's say we have 1/5 divided by 5. Now, in this situation, we're going to do an extra step. First thing we're going to do is we're going to keep that first fraction the same. I'm going to keep the division sign there, and I'm going to put that 5 as a fraction, 5 over 1. Now I'm going to rewrite it as a multiplication problem. My first fraction stays the same. I change the division to multiplication, and I write the reciprocal of the second fraction. And now I go through my steps for multiplying. I look to see if I can reduce it. There's no numerator and denominator are the same. None of them are both even. My numerators are both 1, so I know I can't reduce it. So now I multiply top times top is 1. Bottom times bottom gives me 25. And so my answer would be 1/25. Okay? And it's as simple as that. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's get out your board.
I like how everybody needs to get out your budget.
Now, there's something for you to think about. Typically, when we divide, we typically think of our answer as doing what? Getting smaller. Okay? If you look at this for a second, let's say we have 24 divided by 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4. 24 divided by 4 equals 6. 24 divided by 3 equals 8. 24 divided by 2 equals 12. 24 divided by 1 equals 24. If you notice, as the number we're dividing by gets smaller, what happens to your answer? It gets bigger. Now, we talked about fractions. Fractions are what compared to 1? Smaller. So if 24 divided by 1 gives me 24, what do you think is going to happen if I divide 24 by a fraction?
I'm going to say the same.
It's going to be bigger.
It's going to get bigger. So when you take 24 divided by any fraction, it's going to be bigger than 24. Okay? For example, if we take 24 divided by 2/3. You can write this down. Now, what's the first thing that we're going to do?
Put 24 over 1.
We're going to put the 24 over 1. Now we're going to rewrite it as a multiplication problem. So what am I going to write?
24 over 1
The first fraction stays the same, 24 over 1.
times,
Change the division to multiplication.
and then the
Reciprocal,
reciprocal.
which would be what? Trent?
3 over 2.
3 over 2. Now when I do this, I look to see if I can reduce. Is there anything that I can reduce, Kelton?
24 and 2.
I divide them both by?
2.
2. 2 divided by 2 is? 1. 24 divided by 2 is? 12. Is there anything else I can reduce?
No.
No, so now I've multiplied. Top times top, 12 times 3 is? 36. Bottom times bottom gives me? 1. 36 over 1 is the same as? 36. Okay? Do this one. 26 divided by 2/3.
You mean 16?
Sorry, yeah, 16 divided by 2/3. Sorry about that. You didn't write the reciprocal of the second fraction?
Yeah.
Show me to the number.
Exactly. Let me see yours, Keegan. All right. Good. Good. divide this by what?
Okay,
So now you have to divide this by,
8,
no,
1.
no. If you divide this by 2, you have to divide this by 2 as well. 2 divided by 2 is? Okay. Okay, so the first fraction, we're gonna leave it the same. That's gonna be 16 over 1. We're gonna change the division to multiplication right to reciprocal of the second fraction. Now the 2 into 16, we can divide them both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Nothing else I can reduce, so I multiply. Top times top is 24. Bottom times bottom is 1. 24 over 1 is the same as 24. Let's do another one. Uh, 32 divided by 4/9. Reciprocal the second fraction.
I keep forgetting.
Forget it. What can you divide it 4 and 32 both by? You can divide them by 2, but you can also divide them both by what? What can you divide them both by, you know? Hold on. What can you divide them both by? Okay. Miss here's Keegan.
I have to wear this one.
Divide them both by what?
We did 4,
We divide both by what? 4 divided by 4 is?
4 is 1.
So now 1 times 1 is?
Actually, no. Yeah, it's correct.
I'm not sure, Keegan, how you got that. Look up here, Keegan. First fraction, we're gonna keep it the same, so it's gonna stay 32 over 1. Correct? Change division to multiplication, right to reciprocal of the second fraction. Now, the 4 and the 32, we can divide them both by what?
You can divide them both by, 32 and the 1 and 9.
Well, we can divide the 32 and the 4 both by what?
2.
We can divide them both by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 32 divided by 2 is?
7.
No, 16.
That's
But now, Keegan, we still have 2 even numbers, the 2 and the 16th. We can divide them both by what?
2.
2 divided by 2 is 1. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Now, this is why you want to try to divide them by the, reduce them by the biggest possible number. Okay, because 32 divided by 2, it's not very easy to know that equals 16, is it? Now, what if you had 32 over 1 times 9/4? If we divide them both by 4, what's 32 divided by 4? 4 times what is 32?
So wouldn't it be 8?
8. Okay? Either way, it's fine. We still end up with 8 times 9 is 72. 1 times 1 is 1. Or 8 times 9 is 72. And 1 times 1 is 1, which is 72. Okay? We want to try to reduce it by the largest number possible. It just saves extra steps. Okay? Now, let's do this one. 3/4 divided by 12. No, you nares. What's it say? No, Fabian. What's it say?
Receptacle of
Checkers, Kelton. What's the reciprocal of the second fraction? No, Fabian. How do you write the reciprocal of a number? Fabian. So how do you write the reciprocal of a fraction? What do you have to do? It's the same thing we did here. You didn't write the reciprocal of the second fraction, Jasmine. Okay, so let's check it once. First of all, I'm going to put that 12 as a fraction, so I'm going to put it 12 over 1. Everybody agree with that? Now, first fraction stays the same. Change the division to multiplication. Write the reciprocal of the second fraction. That means we flip it. 12 over 1 becomes 1 over 12. Now we look to see if we can reduce. We can reduce the 3 and the 12 divided both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now I multiply top times top is 1. Bottom times bottom is 16. Give me 1/16. Do another one. 2/3 divided by 6. Jasmine. Try to reduce. Try to reduce. Hold on. Jasmine. First fraction stays the same. So 6 becomes 6 over 1. Now we're going to rewrite it as a multiplication problem. That first fraction stays the same. Change division to multiplication. Write the reciprocal of the second fraction. Fabian, what can we reduce? That doesn't do anything. You can never reduce a 1. You always first look to see if there are the numbers that are the same. Then you always look for what? Evens. Are there even numbers as a numerator and denominator?
6.
And?
6 and 2.
So we can divide them both by what?
3.
Even numbers you can always divide by what? Jasmine, don't lean back in your chair, you're going to fall and hurt yourself, then you'll look like Fabian.
Yeah, I could do it.
You can always divide even numbers by what? 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So Now we multiply top times top is 1, bottom times bottom is 9. Give me 1/9. Any questions? Okay, let's get out your iPads.
Yeah.